If you think Brian Cashman is going to sit on the offseason and think not to bring in a pitcher, well, you're sadly mistaken. You don't know who he is. He always finds...
They're waiting for Freddie Freeman.
He is. They are, because Freddie Freeman is a guy... Too. Well, it's a mistake. Now, Craig, you're hearing this from another... stupid Yankee fan. Do you
Stop
think...
calling me stupid because I don't like what you say.
Freddie Freeman is 29 years old, and he's the best first baseman in baseball.
That's great.
Okay?
Then why did you trade
for
Rizzo?
He's a lefty that hits for average, power, and he's a great defensive player.
You traded for Rizzo, did you not?
No. So what? They traded for Rizzo. They gave him nothing for him. Craig, please, come in here and help me out here.
I like the prospects that they gave up for Rizzo. I mean, it was fine. It was a fair trade. But, they got a guy who, listen, when you ask why they trade for Rizzo, they got a guy who doesn't strike out and can hit for moderate power. Everyone that I know, all the Yankee fans that I know, complain that the team strikes out too much. Mm-hmm. So they're trying to add a little balance to the lineup and doing that. Mm-hmm. Freddie Freeman doesn't strike out that much. Freddie Freeman's much better than Anthony Rizzo. Mm-hmm. I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have him first. If he's not first, he's 1A, to anyone else at first base. What I've seen is that he wants 6 years, $180 million from Atlanta. Mm-hmm. If that's what he wants, I don't know why he hasn't signed with Atlanta right now. Mm-hmm. Why Atlanta's not having him sign pen to paper immediately. Mm-hmm. You just won a title with the guy. He's the face of your franchise along with Ronald Acuna Jr. Mm-hmm. I'm a Dodgers fan. I know they have Max Muncy. I want them to sign Freddie Freeman in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. Anyone should want Freddie Freeman. I don't know what problems. Maybe he's not your kind of guy. Whatever, that's fine. He's an extremely good player. Anyone should want Freddie Freeman. But yeah, to your point about Brian Cashman, I agree. If he was not working for the Yankees, he would be the most desired front office free agent there was. Mm-hmm. I think working that market. Having the money is great. Knowing how to spend the money is a different thing. As you said, 30 consecutive winning seasons, that is literally unheard of. It's incredible. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. And really, the baseball season, the regular season is the hard part. I don't want to say the playoffs are a crapshoot. You can build a team to succeed in the playoffs, right? Absolutely. But it's small series. You can't control everything, and there's a lot of variance in it. The regular season shows over a longer period of time how good or bad a team is. It's harder to be a fluke for 162 games than it is for, to get 11 wins in the playoffs. That's the bottom line. And so over 30 seasons, he's proved over the longer period of time that he knows how to build a winner. I do think you can buy championships, by the way. I have no problem with that.
Who was the last team that's bought a championship that's won besides the Dodgers, if that's what you want to say?
So, no, what I was going to say about the Dodgers, you said Clayton Kershaw. Obviously, he came up with the team, but he's on an extension.
Of course.
They're paying him $32 million. That's
homegrown. Yeah, you're playing your homegrown. I'm talking about buying your players, bringing free agents over here and trying to buy a winning championship.
And trading doesn't count for that?
Well, I'm sorry?
Trades don't count for that?
Well, trades don't. You're giving away prospects. You're giving away players that could be on your team in the future for a guy that's a veteran that's going to help you win. No, buying players is like going out there and paying a Max Scherzer $43 million because he's a stud, and that you think that he's going to make you that much better and is going to help you win a championship. That's why Steve Cohen gave him that money, because he believes he's the secret of his hot sauce that's going to make the team that much better. But anyways, we are talking to Baseball Prospectus editor-in-chief Craig Goldstein. Craig, so we're going into this strike, and I think baseball is there's so many ifs this year. We don't know if this is going to be figured out. I know with the new CBA and with obviously Rob Manfred. Let's be honest about Rob Manfred. He hasn't been a good commissioner. All right. I thought coming in, I thought he was going to change baseball for the better. He's made baseball that much worse. Okay. So I don't like what Manfred has done. He's going to be available to get rid of in 2024. Thank God. I'm sure a lot of people are probably waiting for Theo Epstein to take over baseball, but that's what a lot of people, and I think that's what he's trying to do. That's why he didn't take the Mets job. But what are your thoughts with the strike, some of the new rules, the DH possibly being added to the National League? What are your thoughts to this? And how about having an umpire that is, I don't know, a robot? That's a little interesting too with baseball and how baseball is completely transitioning right now.
Yeah. Well, so first of all, I want to caution that it's a lockout and not a strike. And I know that it's not that big a difference to a lot of people, but there is only the players can strike, but this is the owners locking the players out, right. Freezing roster movement, stuff like that. If it was up to the players, they wouldn't be doing that right now. And the owners don't have to do it, to be clear. They're going to do it at midnight tonight. They don't have to do it. They could keep negotiating and working on a new CBA like you're talking about with these various rule changes and let teams proceed under the previous CBA, even though it's expired, but they're not going to do that. They're going to freeze all roster movement. So none of these signings can happen or, like guys like Seiya Suzuki from Japan can sign or be posted, that kind of thing. But in terms of the rule changes, I'd love to see a universal DH at this point. I'm a big National League fan. Aesthetically or philosophically, I like the idea of having one league be one way and the other way. I like that balance. The problem is it's not actually a balance. The NL is at a distinct disadvantage with their pitchers having to hit. And it's just, to me, it's not fun to watch them hit. They can't hit. They're horrible at it. Even Madison Bumgarner, who everyone says is the pitcher who can hit. It's not fun. The only pitcher who can hit is in the American League, and he's a designated hitter, right? That's Shohei Ohtani. He's the MVP. That's the only pitcher who can hit. The only one. Anyone else is okay. Zach Greinke, it was nice to see him hit a couple singles in the World Series. Fine. But they're all bad, and it's just an automatic out. It's not. I mean, no one wants to watch a basketball player who can't shoot, right? That's not.
Shaquille O'Neal shooting foul shots. You have all these big men shooting foul shots.
Yeah, did we like Hack-a-Shaq? I mean, it was a strategy, but was it fun for anyone to watch? No,
it's terrible. Ben Simmons.
Simmons is going to get down.
I was going to say Simmons. Yeah.
It's terrible.
So yeah, I'm in favor of universal DH. I do think that will happen. I think the trade-off there in some capacity is going to be an expanded playoffs. I don't like that at all. I do think it'll happen. It's not the end of the world. But I think to some degree the regular season, as I said, is the real proof of talent, and it's devalued already. And you're going to expand the playoffs and place more emphasis on something that is not a real proof of talent. It's look, I love the playoffs. It's the most exciting part of the year, but it's not necessarily proves who the best team is. Robo umps, I go back and forth on this. I think I don't think they're quite ready for prime time, is what I would say. There was a great article on The Ringer from Rob Arthur, and who writes for us as well, and Ben Lindbergh, who was a former editor-in-chief of BP. They did a lot of work on the automatic strike zone that's in the minor leagues and is in the Arizona Fall League. There are a lot of pitches straight down the middle that don't get called. Things aren't fully calibrated. And the idea is that you have an umpire who can overrule the automatic, the robot, the thing that's calling the balls and strikes. But if that's the case, you kind of just have an umpire. You know what I mean? And these guys are good. I actually wrote an article this year. I don't know what you think of the idea. I want to, instead of necessarily going straight to robot umpires, I do think that's the future. I think they need to clean it up a little bit. I do think that's the future. I think we need to get rid of the strike zone box on the television.
I agree. Yeah, I absolutely agree.
I think it drives people nuts. I think it truly, something is this far, a quarter of an inch off the plate, and they say, "What are you doing? It's clearly a ball." You don't know that. If the box wasn't there, you wouldn't have had a problem with it. And then I had people telling me those aren't the problems. It's when they're 5, 6, 7 inches off the plate. If you can't tell when something's 5, 6, 7 inches off the plate without the stupid box, I don't know what we're doing here.
Yeah, also the other thing, too, is they always never account for late movement either. I always get annoyed with that. So
Absolutely.
So my question is, in terms of the contract and the money-based things with this potential strike, what the owners versus the players, again, the lockout is like you're saying, with the freezing roster. So what do you think are the biggest stipulations with that in terms of what the players would want? We've seen them trying to fight for earlier arbitration dates where they can get the contracts. Obviously, some players already got paid early in their contract. We saw the Braves do it with Acuna and Albies. The Blue Jays did it. Right. Recently, the Rays just did it with Wander Franco. So is that going to be something that you think is going to be a main focal point when it comes to the money end of it? And what do you think the future of baseball contracts will look like?
That's a great question. I'll start with what the sticking point is between the owners and the players. The players, so like what you were saying before, is that how many teams have bought a championship of late, are made up mostly of free agents. You don't see it that much because free agency is expensive. You have to have these guys on your roster you bring up that are cheap. The teams unilaterally control players for 6 or 7 years once they reach the majors. That's not counting their minor league time. That's once they reach the majors. The first 3 of those years, they unilaterally control their salary. They can pay them the league minimum. After that, it's arbitration, where they get raises, but it's not quite their free market value. So it's much cheaper to have these cost-controlled players. So the way that this sport has gone is you have all these really young, talented guys like Franco, guys like Acuna, guys like Cody Bellinger early in his career. When he's winning an MVP, he was being paid something under $1 million, basically. All that value is coming from these young players, these incredible rookies. And so what teams have done is focus on younger players, and they keep their payrolls down by doing it that way. They'll splurge occasionally for a Scherzer, for a Starling Marte, for a Corey Seager, whatever it may be. But the core of their team is going to be really talented young players that haven't hit the point where they're having to pay them a lot yet. Right. So what the PA wants to do, what the union wants to do, is shift some of that money downward towards the players who are actually producing the value on the field. And look, we've done studies. The share of production, wins above replacement, whatever you want to use, being made on the field is increasingly younger and younger. So what the union wants to do is put money in the hands of the guys that are producing the value. Get paid for what you do, basically. So they want to see, and I don't have this number from the union or anything, but something like double, triple, quadruple the minimum salary. And if it means they don't want to give up money from the top end guys like Scherzer, but if it means doing that, they might be willing to make some level of trade-off if it means younger guys are going to get paid a little better. Because you talked about all those guys getting extensions early in their careers, Acuna, Franco, you can toss in Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez. Those 2 guys signed a contract before even playing a game. They signed 7 and 8 year contracts before playing in the majors. The only reason a team wants to do that is because they can think they can make a killing in terms of what the value those guys are going to provide versus what they're actually going to have to pay them. And if a player is making $2 million as a minimum, and again, I'm just making that up, $2 million instead of $500,000, they might be less inclined to take a deal like that because they know they're actually going to make decent money early on in their career. So that's a big, big deal for the players union.